Hello, everybody. This is a very serious topic, and I want to treat it as such because the people that get so despondent that they actually think of harming themselves, that causes me a great deal of sadness for those people. And what I would like to point out to you is, regardless of whatever is going on in your life, listen to this, please. Whatever is going on in your life is a temporary problem. So for you to harm yourself, or even, I've never had the thought of taking my own life, ever. Not one time in my entire dramatic teenage years, dramatic college years, traumatic. I was always in love or heartbroken to the point of, heartbroken. Never once did I ever think of that. It wasn't even on my mind at all. Because you move forward, right? There's nothing that is insurmountable. Nothing. And I read it's been 27 years that a 27-year-old, Kurt Cobain, the lead singer of Nirvana, for those of you that don't know, killed himself. 27 years. He had a baby girl. She's all grown up now. I'll never forget when it happened. Top of the world. Lead singer of the top band of the world. Now, people might say, oh, maybe he was under the influence, or I don't care what the reason is. For you to harm yourself leaves such a hole for people. They wonder why forever. They're shocked forever. They want to help you forever. And I often think, okay, so every single time I hear about suicide, I go back to high school. Because in high school, even though they were a year apart, they were both boys that took their own life in my high school. Now, that was the 80s. So who knows what it could have been, the reason, right? So you go through all these reasons. Now, back in the 80s, it's a much different world 35 years ago than it is now. Maybe, you start to think of things. Were they a depressed person? Were maybe they wanted to come out as gay or whatever. I just think of that because I'm looking at her gay pride pajamas that I bought her. Aren't they precious? Maybe they were gay. That would have been something in the 80s that was very tough. That would have been a very tough thing. The world is now developing into a different, more inclusive world, thank God. But back in the 80s, I bet that would have been a hard secret to keep for a boy. I'm not saying they were, and I won't say their names anyway, but who knows why? That's the point. It leaves you reeling with why? Why? What is so bad that you're picking a permanent solution for a temporary problem? And now you might say, well, wait a minute, if he's gay, that wasn't a temporary problem. That means he's always going to be gay. If that was his problem in the 80s, then that's not temporary, Renee. What do you mean? What I mean is, at this point, that's not a problem in the world anymore. And if they stuck around, they would have learned that. Again, we're not saying that was their reason. There could be, you don't know the reason. That's the ultimate kicker when it comes to that. And once you get to be my age, you do have a collection of people throughout 35, 40 years that you kind of get, oh yeah, that person killed themselves. There was a person I worked with back in the late 80s also. Married, 2 beautiful girls, little. He had the little round glasses, blonde, killed himself. Family man. So if it's mental illness and they're so despondent that they have no way out, that is a crushing blow to the rest of us because we're all right here ready to listen. So if you are at the point that you're very despondent over a narcissist, please, for the love of Blanche, don't ever take that upon yourself that you no longer want to be here. This is a temporary situation that you're in. And you might say, Renee, I'm stuck. I've been in this situation 30 years. It's not feeling too temporary. Or I've been here 5 years and I have 2 kids and we're broke and I can't leave. It's not feeling too temporary. Okay, but maybe give thought to everybody else around you and how the whole of you taking yourself out is going to make the rest of them feel. Do you have parents? Do you have children? Do you have friends? Do you have cousins? You know what I mean? It's just not a thought anyone should ever have. Ever in the world, ever. It's not a It's not an ideal solution, to say the least, but it shouldn't even be any solution. And it's a permanent one to a temporary problem. And that's what you're doing when you choose that. You're choosing a permanent solution. So I think back to the kids in high school. I think it's automatic. I think anyone that went to my high school, probably to this day, 35 years later, definitely thinks of both those boys every single time they hear the word suicide. And I would bet 35 years later, their problem would be insignificant or dealt with or handled. And they would look back and go, oof, I'm so glad my attempt didn't work. But guess what? Both of them were successful. So we'll never know if their temporary problem could have been fixed. And I know one of them had a sister who was my friend. And so now you have to watch your friend not be with her brother. And if I can implore upon you one thing, and that is, please love yourself enough and know that other people love you, that you should never, ever, ever, ever think of harming yourself. Ever. It should just not even be in your brain. If you teeter, please then stay away from substances. Don't let yourself be under the influence of everything. Just anything you could do to keep yourself not from making that choice. Under the influence, obviously, if you're teetering, is probably a bad idea, because you never know under the influence. That could just be the over-the-edge thing that you're going to, you know what I mean? And do this. Kiss yourself. You are here for a reason. You were born. You were here. Somebody raised you. Somebody loves you. You have friends. You have a purpose. You have a job. You have a dog. I don't even have to list it. Whatever you have around you. You're a glorious human being. And when I hear, and I just read when I read Kurt Cobain's, that was one thing. But then in one of the chat rooms, I read somebody that they were so despondent, they had to talk themselves out of taking their own life because of their experience with their narcissist. And they were happy to say that they did, and it was 7 years later, and they were well. And that's between Kurt Cobain's news it's been 27 years, and reading that comment, I thought, I'm making a video on this. And you might say, well, what do you know? You said you've never had a suicidal thought. Well, then I know from this perspective how to not have one. There's absolutely no reason for it. If this person tells me they love me and then they pull the rug out from under me, it's painful. Okay, they didn't choose me. It doesn't make me not love myself to the point that I'm going to harm myself. Next. I'm being facetious. It's not like that. Next. It's not like that. But I have a girlfriend who treats it that way. She's like, so next. So she refuses. She's not going to beg anyone to love her. She's not going to try to make anyone love her. She's a pretty strong girl. And it's kind of like a next mentality. And that's maybe not a place that any one of us will ever get to. I feel really hard, and for a long time, once I love someone, whether it's a friend or a partner or whatever, that stays with you. And if you lose a friendship or you lose a partner, that love just doesn't go away. But by all means, for the love of Blanche, for the love of all that is anywhere on the earth, please talk to people. Go find help. I don't have any friends, Renee. I live alone in this town. Go to the church. I'm not religious. I don't want to go to a church. I'm against it for reasons that I can't even get into. Okay, go to the police station. Go to a fire station. Go somewhere. Go to talk to somebody. I can't afford a counselor. Okay, the places I just meant are free. And I'm sure if you walk into a local firehouse or a local police station, either one of those two stations that would be responsible to respond should there be some kind of incident with you, I'm sure they'd rather get a conversation in with you prior than being called to the scene after. Please, don't ever feel that way. It's not a solution for anybody. And it doesn't show anybody. It doesn't protect you from feeling pain anymore. That doesn't protect you. It means you didn't work out what you had to work out, and you had so much more to do on this earth. if you can just get through those feelings of despondence. Please. So seek help anywhere you can find it and get that thought out of your head. And stay away from extraneous substances. I'm not talking about if you're on prescription medication from a doctor for your depression or whatever. That's not something I'm telling you to stop. But you don't need extraneous substances in your system when you're teetering on feeling this way. Please get yourself healthy. Please talk to whoever you need to. Comment here. I'll talk to you all night. Comment back and forth. All night. I don't want anyone ever feeling that way. No, no, no. There's nothing that bad. Please. Okay, so chin up. All right.